I wonder if the family that you are born to, is that a clear sign of what you are destined to do? Now, here's a thought that I've been thinking, and y'all know I love to share my thoughts on Thursday specifically. However, this is like a thought that I don't know if it's a thought of my own or if it's a thought that came from God, as I've been just seeking, like praying, truthfully praying about one, how to steward the kids that my wife and I have, two kids to be specific, but then as well, just how to lead and direct our family, my family, in the way that we should go. And this was a thought that came to mind, and I wonder like if it has some validity to it. Now, for the opposite end of it all, like, yes, there are the outlier individuals that may find themselves as athletes or, ball players or whatnot. So boom, you've done something that your family hasn't done. But then as well, there are some individuals that are legacy ball players, whether it's in the NFL, the NBA, soccer, you name it, MLB, and then all the other sports that are out there. But nonetheless, boom. Or it could be an individual, a situation where you don't go down the path that your family has gone down, and it's for good purposes, right? You're making the shift and the change, you're breaking generational curses and all the different things like that. But now I'm speaking to like those that are within a well-established family, or a family that maybe are nurses or doctors or preachers or construction workers, and the list goes on. Like, could it truly be that we're in the family that lets us know of what we should be looking to do in the future? And I think there is some truth to it, because at the end of the day, if my kids do what I and my wife has done, it will allow for them to not have so many hurdles to climb over as they do and as they pursue the career and the things that, what we do entails, which for us being my wife and I, we are still like fine tuning our thing, which I know it is communicating, which I know it is something dealing with others, right? Speaking, uplifting, motivating others. And even one of my wallpapers on my phone that I have about our family is that the Jones family, we are creators, innovators, and communicators of ways to help people live life better. And so I know that's a part of what we do and who we are. And then up under there, I know that we are to be the hands and feet of God that show love, teach love, and are the example of how to live this life as believers, as Christians, as those who desire to pursue and to follow the word of God. So boom, I understand that. And then the cool thing about that is like just to tie in who we are as a Jones family to this conversation, which I said that way because I would love to hear your thoughts pertaining to this topic in the comment section. Because before I hit the other point, I know that legacy is a topic of discussion that a lot of people have. However, around actions, around careers, around pursuits, around destiny, I don't see or hear a lot of conversations legacy wise in this vein. And I even did some YouTube searches, some Google searches, biblical searches around like, is this a thing that is known or a thing that's talked about? Which at the end of the day, it has to be, because there are dynasties, right? Which inevitably is families that continue in a thing, like oil families that started in the oil business and they just continue to do so, with the idea that nobody sells completely the company, or people that were in railroads, they continue in that vein or in that field or sphere of influence, and they just continue to do it, and the list goes on. But nonetheless, like at the end of the day, we do things the way in which our parents have done things, we being the Jones family, because my father is a preacher and was a pastor for a period of time. And what am I? A licensed minister and preacher, right? And I started when I was in college at LSU and still have a minister's license, and the list goes on. And, boom, 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 boom. My wife, her parents were pastors, and I say it that way because her dad has transitioned on to glory, on to heaven, and her mom still is alive, living, thriving, doing well, and she still ministers, she still teaches, and boom. So, and my wife Crystal, is an ordained minister as well, licensed minister as well. I guess licensed, ordained, same thing. you know, I guess tomato, tomato. But nonetheless, she's a minister. I'm a minister. Our parents were preachers and pastors and leaders in the church world. And here we are. But then I've been hearing my son talk about this so much, which is like his desire. He plays sports right now, which that's another topic for another day. Y'all pray for me in that respect. But he's young. And so I'm trying not to do and to be too much as he is learning, developing, growing, and just experimenting. That's how I've landed. Rickey is experimenting the world of sports. Dad, Rickey, don't lock in to any particular sport right now because he's still exploring. So allow for the boy to explore because he's young. That was for me. But nonetheless, Rickey, my son, he says, oh, I want to play soccer until I'm 18. I'm going to make a bunch of money playing soccer until I'm 18. I want to play baseball for 2 years, football for 2 years, maybe 3, because I love tackle football. Bro, you haven't even played tackle football. How you know you like tackle football? But then ultimately his goal is at the age of 18 is to become a preacher and to be a preacher for the rest of his life. And it's like, okay. And so I'm hearing it. And I personally have prayed over my kids for God to share with me what their destiny, what their purpose is here in this world, so that Crystal and I, my wife and I, can steward who they are and what they're destined to be in this world properly. And so I know I heard from God is Rickey's going to be a gift for the world. And so that's all I heard in that respect. So I'm open, and to know him is to know the boy is unique. The boy is gifted. He is funny. He is hilarious. So that can be a plethora of things. Excuse me. And for Rain, I won't get into the specifics of what I heard, largely because I don't want to put anything on or any pressures on her. But I will say her purpose and gifts line up with who and what Crystal and I are. I'll just put it that way. And so I'm like, God, this is interesting. And also it's cool because my dad shared with me that he had prayed and asked God that God will continue the legacy and lineage of preachers in the Jones family. For every offshoot, if you will, of the Joneses that came from him, there would be a preacher within that family. And sure enough, here I am as a minister of the gospel. My son now is desiring to be a minister at the age of 6, right? And it's just interesting that it could flow that way. And then I look at other families of fathers, right, that are still in or have influence of a household. And I say it that way because some fathers may not still be, fathering or within the same household as their children, but it doesn't negate their ability to still father the kids that they helped birth, right? Or help give life to. Yeah, because they didn't birth the kids. They helped give life to the kids. And I see how with the influence, there is a thread that ties who the kids are to what the father have done or what the parents have done. And it's like, okay, you did this thing. I saw you do it. And here I am doing it. And of course, for those that have businesses, it's kind of a no-brainer that the children will follow in the parents' legacy of the business. Now, in some cases, of course, it does not happen. And, there are those situations where kids realize, I don't want to take on the responsibilities, and the list goes on for the various reasons. So boom, it's not 100%. However, you can, almost kind of like say to yourself, it's kind of set up that the child will continue in the family business as the parents have pursued, did, built, and now can hand over. Like, it's a thing. And so I'm leading to something that obviously I'm going to share, but ultimately I'm thinking and did some research in the Bible. Like, okay, my first thought was to go back to the tribe of Judah, right? Or the Israel, 12 tribes of Israel, and look at how they were broken down, because there were 12 tribes, 12 groups, and the groups had specific tasks that they did based off of the lineage that they were born to. So there were tribes, there were clans, and obviously there were the people group of the people of and the children of Israel. And it was cool, right? So you have the Levi group that they handle the affairs of the temple and worshiping to God. And certain ones did the breakdown and the carrying of the ark, and some handle the putting together, and the list goes on. You can look it up. It's in Numbers. I did the research. So check that out. And it's cool. And then, you know, you look at Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, how they were in their faith and things like that. And then you look at Joseph, and you look at Isaac, and you just like look at the things, and it's like, okay, God, like, is there a through line? Is there a thread that we as fathers, we as parents, we as believers can, and I say believers because, you know, I don't know what it's like on the outside, you know, of this faith that I have in Jesus and in God, but I say it that way in that as I steward, as I father, as I parent, as I live, I seek God for wisdom, for counseling, for understanding, for patterns, and for principles. And with all of those things, I'm like, okay, God, is it that I could help our kids, Rain and Ricky, to live a more fulfilled life, to live a life without wonderment or this I'm a figure it out phase, or I'm a, you know, all whatever the thing is at the time? Because some people take years off after high school before going to college to determine what you want to pursue and do, and some just go into, and then they, you know, inevitably end up in a space, and they may change, right? But is it that, God, you have made it simple that what we as parents are and who we are and our makeup and our chemistry and our desires, our likes, our dislikes are not one for one duplicated, but are replicated in our kids? And should we be living a life in a way that we can set our kids up, not only through relationships, but in activities, so that when they are of age to step into, they're able to do so with a platform, with a space, with people that are rooting for them, that understand them, that know them, that are listening and waiting for them to step into all that they were destined, designed, and purposed to be? Like, should that be what we do, or do we let them figure it out? Which I don't even like that phrase. It doesn't even sit well with me peacefully, because I feel like in that figuring it out phase, you can come in contact with so much. Because in figuring it out, who are you listening to? Because in order to figure it out, you have to listen to someone. You have to be influenced by someone and something. And so, I don't know, it could be a Google search. What is the highest paid career or job, whether it's in the United States or a whole nother country? They could be, you know, subliminally want to get up out of the country or get up out of the state, and they are looking up ways to do so. And then they pursue that. And sometimes we can find or even hear stories of others that have pursued a job because of the money that it pays, and inevitably hate the career that they have pursued. And yes, some will make the change into something else, but then most often people just stick where they don't like, because they've done so much to get to where they are that making a shift, making a move seems like it's impossible. So it's like, okay, God, help me to help them. And inevitably I came to the thought that families are set up God's way to help kids step into what he has for them. And we as parents, yes, are to make sure they're exposed to things that will be beneficial to them, but then also we're to also as well make sure relationships are around them that will allow for them to be all that they were designed, destined, purposed, and crafted to be. And then allow for God to be God in their lives, but at the same time not have for them to start at ground zero. And that's yes financially, that's yes in relationships, and the list goes on, right? Y'all let me know of other ways in which we can set our kids up for not only success, but beyond where the norm have to start, but start from a place and platform where those who have set up dynasties, who have set up not only legacies of money, but legacies of position, of power, of prominence, of stature, of a space in which their kids can come in and not start at the bottom, but start knowing names, knowing addresses, knowing and having phone numbers of people they can call and step into all that they were designed and destined to do. And you know, those are the people in the families where you look up and it's like, man, how did that kid at age 18, 19, 20, are they able to do that? Or are they able to be there? Are they able to receive this amount of pay or salary or whatever, whatnot? It's not by happenstance, right? It's set up for their win. It's set up for their victory. And I'm truly believing that it's something that as parents, right, we should do, and we should allow. And, you know, even in this time, I'm not saying it because I did not have it for me. I definitely had a plate prepared for me because of my parents, in which I honor and thank them. Obviously you can't do it enough, but I take the chances that I can and are reminded to do so. Like they made life easy for me to be able to not only have the confidence to make videos or to speak before you all, but to have the wherewithal to know that great parents make for not only great children, but for a great life for their children. And they have done that and beyond. So much so that my kids are able to be recipients of the goodness and the greatness of who they are and receive the blessing, because as the Bible says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. And so now my mother and father, my father and mother are not only leaving an inheritance of wealth, but of experiences, of exposure, of communication with my kids, which are their children's children, their grandkids. And so it's a beautiful thing to see. And even now, right, I have a daughter who's 9, and I was just thinking in 10 years, our daughter will have graduated high school, which she has plans on being in Broadway as a dancer, which is cool because my wife Crystal, she loved dancing and she was a dancer and danced at church and things like that. And like I said, our son, his desire is to be a preacher. And so it's like, okay, with Rain being 19, she would have graduated high school. How will we make sure that she has not a enrolled, not a easy, you know, well, yeah, I want all of that. I want to enroll and I want easy access for Rain to be able to, us or we as parents, make a phone call. Hey, our daughter desires to be on Broadway as a dancer. We can have a connect at Broadway, or excuse me, on Broadway, that she can dance. And it's like, why not? Why not? Why not? Our son desires to be a preacher, sports player, all those things. And if he is truly called by God to do so, why not? Like, why not? Why can't we have information of somebody that is looking for a minister, looking for a preacher, and whether it's to the youth, whether it's to the adults, whether it's, you name it, you know, he may have a gift or a ministry that touches the world. Why not being able to be on TV or YouTube or streaming platforms as a preacher, as a minister of the gospel? Why not? Like, I think, you know, I don't know. I'm also like even battling with the negative thought and casting it away of wanting them to not have it easy. I do want them to have it easy. Like it's clicking, Lord. Like, I want them to have it easy, and they should have it easy because of the work Crystal and I have done in our purpose, in our spaces and places of influence, and making sure that we're creating, innovating, and communicating. And in doing so, it will make their life easy. And in our kids doing their part, it will make their kids' life easy. In doing what? What the family does. And so as they're being raised as our grandchildren, crazy having kids thinking about grandkids, but it's something you should do. With our kids coming up, they should know what the Jones family do. Jones family, we're ministers. Jones family, we are world travelers. Jones family, we are missionaries. We show the love and we teach the word of God all around this world. Jones family, we are creative, we are innovative. Jones family, we help, we aid, we assist, we help make people's lives better. And so how do you do that? What's the way you do that? And in doing it your way, here's a phone number, here's a phone call I can make, here's a connect, here's a relationship we've built. Why? Because we know the benefits of long-term relationships. We treat everybody with love and respect because you never know who or when you'll need anybody. And so we don't think highly of ourselves that we can't speak to anyone and everyone that we come in contact with. Like, those are the things that we do as Joneses, right? Those are the things that I saw my parents do. Therefore, those are the things that I do. My kids see me and Crystal do. And it will continue on. And it's like, okay, God, I like that. Like, I love that. I think that's how you have set it up to be, and the benefits of family units, the benefit of units in general. Like, it's that intentional. God is that intentional when you include God in the beginning of it. And even in Crystal and I union, it was because of what God said. She is my wife. As God told her, I am her husband. Therefore, we follow the voice of God. And here we are today, 11 years in, at the release of this video. And 11 more times 11 more times 11 more times 11 more times 11 more we will be. I think that was 55. At 55, I'll be 80. I'll be 91. And so I want to live as long as I'm fully capable and able of, you know, caring for myself, walking around, using the bathroom. I don't have to necessarily be driving. I really don't even want to drive. In like 5 more years, I want to be driven. So it's like, you know, I just want to be able to have full function of my faculties and mobility. So I'm down for 91, 101, 110. You know, I'm open to 120. Depends on what it looks like. But nonetheless, and all great people, like, that's the thought that I have for today. Those were the things that I've even talked to people that are older than me that I work with, that, hey, what do you think about this thought? And he loved it. He was like, yeah, I like what you're thinking. I like where you're going with that. And I think more of us should have these conversations, especially fathers, of what do we see our parents do, and does it line up with what we're doing? But then from there, how do we instill not only roots and ways within our kids, but how do we do what we need to do to make sure they as in our kids are where they could be, so that life is easy for them. And my last point of this thought is, I've even started, which I started when my dad just threw it out there just to see how he was gonna catch it. But maybe he'll see this and run a little bit further because he knows the heart behind it. But I even asked him, like, have we as the Jones family started a family tree? Like, to even have an understanding of our roots as far as back as we can go. I'm fine, I'm open to it. But to even have a respect or an honor for those that came before us. Some would say our ancestors, our grandparents, our great-grandparents, our elders, the forefathers. The list goes on of different names that they have for those that have come before, so that we can see them, so that we can honor them, and we can recognize that, no, like, our name, the Jones family, our family in general, isn't just new. So you don't have to, like, start, create, and just come out of the abyss with something. Like, no, there's a way in which we have lived life. And if there's a change to be made, maybe you are the change. However, you don't have to drift in this world of wonderment of, who am I? What do I do? What? Like, no, there has been a way. God has done things through our family, and there's a part that you can play in continuing the work that God has done. And so I want to get it from my side. I want to get it from Crystal's side, and I want to create, you know, where we are as the Jones family, and then allow for that to continue to grow through Rickey, through Rain, and yeah, and see how that all turns out. So all in all, great people, the thought for today is, is the family that you were born into an indicator of the destiny, the purpose, or the life that you were born to live? And if so, like, how do we make it better as parents? How do we make it easier for our kids? Because at the end of the day, they don't have to start from the bottom. They really don't. Especially if you raise them right. If you raise them right, they don't have to start from the bottom to appreciate the good, the great that they have. But obviously the flip side of that is true as well. So with it all, in it all, I love you all. Please comment down below. Please subscribe. Please like. Please let me know your thoughts about such thoughts as this, because I have a lot of them. I just don't share them because, yeah, I don't know. I just work through them in my mind and store them, knowing that one day God will bring it back to me if it's necessary or useful. But end it all with it all. I love you all, great people. See you in the next video. Peace.